Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode we're going to be taking a look at a piece generated by the AI generative artist known as ΛЯΜIX using DALL-E II. This episode we're going to talk about the portraiture format. We're going to talk about the impact of the samurai in both warrior and culture. We're also going to talk about the profound power of OpenAI's DALL-E II. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, you're met face to face with a lone subject here. He appears to be a samurai, and this is set in a portraiture format here. The title of this work is Cybernetic General, and we certainly see that here. You're met face to face with a very confrontational composition. This feels, kind of dark. There's this darker demeanor, and of course, those glowing red eyes really denote a sense of the kind of dark divinity of our subject here. And so we see our subject set in center, and when an element of a piece of art stands in the center, it's always going to call your eye because, of course, it takes up so much of the spatial composition. There's really no negative space around here. Of course, there is a bit, say, in the corners, but overall, it just commands so much of the composition here. So that's really important to note. And so we see our subject really defined through this light on dark contrast. Of course, we have that negative space, that kind of midnight, kind of a smoky blue, hazy background. And that really is the perfect neutral background to allow the emphasis of our subject's form. So we see that light on dark contrast for sure. And so we see the portraiture format. It's a very classical format. Of course, it displays it from about the shoulders or the bust up. You're always met face to face with a format portraiture. Portraiture format, there we go. And I actually brought one, we're going to reference that here in a second, but this creates a very intimate visual experience. Like I said, you're met face to face with our subject here. So it is very kind of confrontational, and that sense of intimacy also contributes that sense of confrontation here. And so with this in mind, we see really an impact of intensity of light within the work before us. So whether it's the glowing eyes, whether it's a kind of possessed by light scripture there at the top, whether it is the kind of impact of light through the metallic shine, whether it's that haze, all of this gives this very kind of impactful sense here. Of course, it is quite bright, and then that light on dark contrast is set against that backing. So that darker backing allows intensity of light to really impact itself to the highest degree possible, and that impact is just unmistakable and unavoidable. We surely see that here. And so I also wanted to mention, you have this kind of hazy or smoky or mist effect here. This does contribute to a sense of texture, but it also feels kind of mysterious or I would say magical, but it is kind of like a darker magic. So technically kind of mysterious, kind of magical here. It's very hard to say for sure, but it does feel quite strange. We're not sure exactly what we're looking at here, especially with those eyes. So we're looking at a samurai. And it's hard to say exactly, what possesses our subject or why we have that hazy texture, but the presence and the impact of that is just undeniable. And so we see a samurai here, and I actually brought some references. And so the samurai, they originated as the amishi, which were horseback warriors, I believe in about northern Japan. But over time, they were conquered and assimilated into the root of Japanese culture. And so they were widely recognized as these amazing warriors. Everyone loved their skill. Everyone loved just their craftsmanship and everything in between. So the samurai became very popular, especially in the warrior class, and they really pioneered that warrior class there in Japan. And so they eventually grew to become the bodyguards of the highest daimyo elites. So they served as, protecting the royal families, and this was the time, well, there's many times that can be referenced to the samurai, but specifically, they're really being the bodyguards of the highest daimyo elites. Japan was split into just dozens and dozens of different, factions or clans, all ruled by the daimyo or the family elites. And so the samurai grew to become the bodyguards of these elites, and it's just absolutely amazing. Definitely one of the most recognizable figures, symbols, events or time periods in history, as well as in combat culture. So very, very important. The samurai is just, it's hard to mistake it. Whenever you see a samurai, it really calls your attention, whether it's in pop culture, whether it's a very kind of slight fashion design. We certainly see the influence here. And so I brought some influences, not some influences, but some references so we can take a look at that. So the first one on the right here is a portraiture format of a samurai. And so we certainly see that, of course, pretty much the bust, about the shoulders up, but it is a very intimate visual experience. And you also see that kind of peak up in the helmet as well. So all important to note. And we certainly see that in kind of the drapery or the backing that goes along that as well. We see that. And then the armor right there all really connects that for sure. So that is a portraiture of a samurai that I wanted to really show as a reference to really kind of set alongside this one. So I think that is a really good example. And so the next one I want to talk about is this kind of digital painting, it appears to be. We have a signature at the bottom. But yeah, just an incredible work here. We certainly see just the kind of daunting nature of our figure here. We have, of course, the helmet. We have the armor going down, the iconic sword. And so if we were to compare that here, we certainly see that peak. We see that kind of the opening on the backing as well of the helmet. So I wanted to reference that as well to show you guys, what a samurai would look like kind of zoomed out. So we certainly see that for sure. And so next I want to talk a little bit about the Bushido Code. And the Bushido Code is very, very important because it is kind of the code of honor which the samurai follow. So this is everything from courage to honesty to humility, discipline. All these things really go into the Bushido Code. And since I'm watching House of the Dragon at the moment, I kind of see a lot of not influences, but more so a lot of similarities between, say, the honor of the Bushido Code and the samurais of the Far East in comparison to the knights of the medieval West. So we certainly see some similarities between those, some type of warrior, but also follows a code. So there is that chaos, but there's that sense of order, that sense of control because they do follow a code. But with that in mind, we see our subject's red eyes here. So with that in mind, I see the Bushido Code could mean nothing in this picture because we have our subject's red eyes. It feels possessed by this kind of dark divine spirit. It's hard to sure, although we do feel quite a dark aesthetic here for sure. Whether it's that kind of midnight black backing, whether it's those red eyes, whether it's the mix of kind of green and red, very garish colors, or whether it's the haze that almost feels like a fire all beneath our subject here, all of those really contributes that sense of kind of a darkness or a sense of evil within the work at hand. So we could see our subject turning against the Bushido Code. It's hard to say for sure, but there's no doubt that the samurai are very, very powerful. And so our subject here, he could use his power for better or for worse. So what do you guys see whenever you view this piece? Who or what do you think our subject is, or what are they doing? And this could be, of course, it is a cybernetic general as the piece, so it is some type of cyborg or some type of half human, half robot. Really, really interesting work for sure. And this was an AI generative piece, so it was created in OpenAI's DALL-E II. We see that for sure. And of course, we have Artix's signature as well. He always adds that to the DALL-E II renderings that he goes live with. So DALL-E II is incredibly powerful, of course. We see the just strikingly high resolution which DALL-E II can create. That's absolutely stunning, and I've been using it quite a bit to create some liminal dreamcore type of stuff. But regardless of that, we certainly see the impact and the potential which OpenAI can do. Just absolutely stunning here. It's a blessing to be able to showcase the work before us. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. We talked a little bit about the portraiture format. We talked about, say, the influences of the samurai, both in origins, in culture, and then in combat history. And then we also talked about, say, the sense of evil here, and then as well as OpenAI's DALL-E II. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you guys did, go check out the original artist. It's going to be Artix, also known as Artix Art. You can reference the description for that. And also check out OpenAI's DALL-E II program, an amazingly powerful program. And I think y'all would have a blast with it. Hope you guys enjoyed. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.